Every 4 years, the world just stops. Economies slow down, complete strangers hug in the streets. Wars have even declared temporary ceasefires, all for a game. The 2022 World Cup final reached a global audience of up to 1.5 billion people. To put that into perspective, that's more than double the estimated 650 million people who watched the first moon landing. It's almost 20% of the entire human population, all focused on one patch of grass, all holding their breath at once. But this isn't a video about football. This is a video about what's really going on when the world watches together. What if the game on the screen is just a distraction from the real event happening inside our own heads? This is about a deep, ancient human instinct that the World Cup awakens. An instinct so powerful, it can explain everything from the beauty of global connection to the quiet ache of modern loneliness. It's an instinct that, once you see it, will change how you view the world long after the final whistle blows. So why do we do it? Why do billions of otherwise reasonable, intelligent adults find themselves screaming at a screen, painting their faces, and feeling a deep personal wound from a game played by 22 millionaires on the other side of the planet? The easy answers are national pride or that is just good entertainment. And sure, those things are true, but they don't even scratch the surface. Entertainment doesn't explain the tears. National pride doesn't fully explain why a loss can feel like a small death, a genuine grief that follows you into the next day. You might think it's loyalty to the players, but that doesn't explain the profound connection you feel to a 19-year-old substitute you would never even heard of before last Tuesday. It doesn't explain that visceral, electric feeling of being in a crowd of thousands, all screaming at the exact same millisecond.
To the middle for Lionel Messi!
The simple explanations fall apart because they treat football like a product we just consume. But it's not. The real answer is that the World Cup does something ancient to our brains. It doesn't just entertain us, it organizes us. It turns a match into a tribe into an identity, and an identity into a feeling so powerful it can outrun logic. It's why the World Cup looks like a sport on the surface, but underneath, it acts like a ritual. And to understand it, we have to go back. Way back. For most of human history, being alone wasn't just an emotional bummer. It was a terrifyingly vulnerable position. Cut off from the group, you were more likely to starve, more likely to be attacked, more likely to die. In that world, belonging wasn't some nice-to-have virtue. It was a core survival mechanism. So the human brain evolved with an intense, hardwired need for groups. It built a powerful, subconscious system that is always asking a few critical questions. Who is us? Who is them? And where do I fit? That system is constantly scanning for cues. Who shares your symbols, your songs, your side of the fire? That's why tribal loyalty feels so primal and powerful. It's not a bug in our mental software. It's one of its oldest, most fundamental features. And the World Cup presses that button like a giant, glowing emergency stop. A flag is no longer a piece of fabric. A jersey isn't just clothing. A song becomes a signal, a call to the faithful. A stadium, a bar, or a living room can suddenly feel like a tribe circle, where strangers instantly sink their attention and emotion around one shared high-stakes event. This is the basis of what social psychologists call social identity theory, pioneered by Henry Tajfel in the 1970s. A Polish Jew who survived World War II was obsessed with understanding the roots of group loyalty. In his famous minimal group studies, he found he could randomly assign people to groups based on a coin toss, and they would immediately start favoring their own group members. The World Cup is that same experiment on a global scale, but with maximum emotional fuel. The groups, our national teams, are anything but minimal. They come loaded with history, culture, and personal meaning. When you pick a team, you're not just choosing a side, you're adopting a social identity, and that identity becomes part of you. This is where it gets wild. Once that group identity clicks on, our sense of self merges with the team's fate. Social psychologist Robert Cialdini famously noticed a funny pattern on college campuses. On the Monday, after the football team won, way more students wore school apparel than after a loss. He also noticed how they talked. When the team won, students said, "We won." When the team lost, they were much more likely to say they lost. Obviously, genius. Cialdini called it basking in reflected glory, or verging. It's how we tie our self-esteem to our group's success. When the team wins, it feels like we won. Their glory reflects on us. The flip side is cutting off reflected failure, or quarfing, where we create a little psychological distance to protect our ego. This is not irrational. It's perfectly logical once you understand that humans aren't built to be isolated calculators. We're built to attach, and the World Cup team just happens to be the perfect thing to attach to. So we have established that the World Cup carves the world into tribes, and we hook our self-esteem to them. But that still doesn't explain the sheer intensity of it all. Why does a last-minute goal feel like an actual jolt of electricity? Why does a missed penalty produce a sound from a crowd so perfectly synchronized it seems conducted? The answer is wired into our capacity for empathy, a deep, automatic form of emotional mimicry. In the 1990s, Italian neuroscientists studying monkeys discovered mirror neurons. These brain cells fired not only when a monkey did something, like grab a peanut, but also when it just watched another monkey do the same thing. While their exact role in humans is still debated, the theory goes that a similar system in our brains lets us intentionally simulate the actions and even the feelings of others. When you see someone smile, your brain's own smile circuits flicker, helping you understand their joy without a word. When you see someone in pain, your brain's pain matrix lights up, creating a shadow of their feeling in your own mind. Now, I want you to imagine this system in a stadium of 80,000 people, or a bar with 100 people. One person gasps, the people next to them see that look of alarm and their own nervous systems automatically mirror it. Another person sees the ball fly toward the goal and leaps up. That tension is perceived by those around them, and their bodies prepare for action too. This is a phenomenon called emotional contagion, the tendency for feelings to spread through a group, almost like a virus. It's an unconscious, automatic process. We mimic expressions, voices, and postures, and in doing so, we start to feel the same things. The collective joy, the collective dread, they aren't just a bunch of individual feelings. They are amplified by the group, creating a feedback loop where the emotion becomes more intense than any single person could generate alone. The sociologist Emil Durkheim called this collective effervescence over a century ago. A state of high-octane emotional energy that emerges from group rituals, where people feel swept up in something larger than themselves. That's what makes the World Cup so potent. It's not a game you watch, It's a collective experience you're pulled into. For 90 minutes, a scattered group of individuals becomes, in a very real sense, one emotional organism. There is one more critical layer. The World Cup isn't just a series of games. It is a storytelling machine of unmatched power. And humans, even more than we love sports, are addicted to stories. Our brains run on narrative. We make sense of the world not through spreadsheets, but through stories with characters, conflicts, and resolutions. A good story grabs our attention and makes the outcome feel meaningful. The World Cup delivers these stories on a global scale, with stakes that feel impossibly high. Think about the archetypes that play out every 4 years. You have the underdog, the small nation with no superstars, defying the odds to topple a giant. Their win feels like a win for anyone who's ever been counted out. It's David versus Goliath, and we are wired to root for David. You also have the hero's last stand, the aging legend on his final quest for the one trophy that's eluded him. Will he find redemption, or will it all end in tragedy?
And he gets it back, Lionel Messi! That is what he does!
Lionel Messi's 2022 journey was a perfect screenplay that billions of people were emotionally invested in. You also have the redemption arc. The player haunted by a missed penalty for years, who gets a second chance on the world's biggest stage. These aren't just game reports, they're more like epic poems written in real time. Our narrative bias makes us see these patterns everywhere. A lucky bounce isn't just luck, it's destiny. A shocking loss isn't a statistical anomaly, it's a tragic twist. We need things to be part of a larger story, because that's what gives them meaning. This is why people who don't even care about football get drawn in. They might not understand the offside rule, but they understand the story of a young team trying to bring joy to a struggling nation. They understand the drama of a bitter rivalry steeped in history. The sport is the medium, but the message is a collection of universal human stories about struggle, hope, and triumph. And because it's unscripted, it's the most captivating reality show on Earth. So, we have tribes, shared emotion, and story. But this is where all comes together and gets to the heart of why the World Cup feels so vital right now. We live in an era often described with a powerful metaphor, an epidemic of loneliness. For all our digital connections, many of us feel more isolated and fragmented than ever. Modern life often praises independence, but in the process, it can strip away the shared rituals and collective experiences that used to bind us together. We live around each other, but not always with each other. And then, for 1 month every 4 years, the World Cup shows up. And for a little while, that loneliness gets interrupted. Suddenly, there is a socially acceptable reason to gather, to go to a bar, to have people over, to talk to the stranger on the train wearing the same colors. The normal walls we put up are temporarily open. The tournament provides a shared script, a common language that cuts across politics, age, and class. For a few weeks, you have a guaranteed conversation starter with your boss, your barista, and your neighbor. This is the positive side of the tribalism we often forget. The same instinct that draws lines between us and them is also the force that creates solidarity and joy within us. This is the same reason why a shared victory can turn a public square into a single, unified wave of celebration. In a fragmented world, the World Cup is a rare, shared global pulse. It's a temporary cure for our modern isolation. Not a permanent one, of course. but it is a powerful reminder that we're capable of syncing up our emotions on a massive scale, and a reminder that collective joy isn't an accident, it's a profound human achievement. And of course, this mechanism has a shadow. Once the brain divides the world into an in-group and out-group, it becomes easier to feel hostility when your identity feels threatened. That's why the same tournament that produces strangers hugging in the street can also produce ugly nationalism and contempt. The point isn't that people become monsters, it's that the tribal mind does exactly what it was built to do: protect the group and sharpen the lines of difference. This deep wiring for group identity shows up everywhere, not just in sports. It's in politics, online communities, even brand loyalty. What's the most surprising tribe you've ever felt a part of? Let us know in the comments. So no, this was never a video about football. When the World Cup makes people seem irrational, it's not exposing a flaw that the game creates. It's just revealing a part of who we have always been. The flags, the chants, the face paint, the tears, the outrage, the pure, unadulterated pride. These aren't just side effects of a simple game. They are clues. Clues that deep inside the modern 21st century mind, there lives an ancient social animal. An animal still scanning the horizon for belonging, still answering the call of the tribe, still needing to feel part of something bigger than itself. That is why the World Cup feels bigger than sport, because for a few weeks, it reminds us of a fundamental truth. Beneath the countries, the screens, and their rivalries, humans are still doing what they have always done: finding each other, drawing lines, sometimes crossing them, and for a few brief, shining moments, becoming one crowd with a single, unified heartbeat. Thanks for watching.